Speaker Johnson comes out and states that he's cutting the DOJ 3%, 7% from the ATF, 6% of the FBI, 10% from the EPA. And it's part of this whole, averting government shutdown. We need a spending bill, the omnibus bill. See, this is how they trick you. That sounds great, doesn't it? It sounds like, oh wow, we're going in the right direction. We're going in the right direction. But today we're going to talk about really what the Republicans and Democrats are wanting in this omnibus bill, the spending bill. Let's go over it because this is your money. This is your money that is full of pork projects that's paying for junk that you don't even know nothing about. But they tell you all the good stuff. But what they don't tell you is all the other spending they're actually doing. Let's jump into it. Today's video starts right now. Hey guys, welcome to the Max. Thank you so very much for being here today. I am so thankful for you watching every day. Our goal is to give you information to help you hopefully gain some wisdom, some common sense, but also to make you do your own research to say, you know what? I don't know if I like this guy. I want to find this information for myself. That is what I like the most because it allows you to dive a little deeper and quit looking at just the simple stories and try to say, you know what? There is some truth to this. This is unbelievable. Both sides are not helping us. And that's the truth today. So if you're new to the channel, go on here, press subscribe. If you like the content, give us a thumbs up because it does help us stay in the algorithm to help spread our message across this platform. Now, today we're going to be talking about the omnibus bill. Now, I love how conservatives, please let me go back. I love how Republicans try to make you believe that they're cutting your spending and saving you money. Please, I do want conservatives to win. I do want Republicans to win. I want them to thrive. But sometimes when we play between the 40s, meaning when no one really wins, it just makes you look better. That's exactly what a lot of Republicans do. When we talk about true conservatism and true, cutting spending, that's something that needs to happen. But ultimately, it's going to hurt the people in power because they know that if they do that kind of cutting, it's going to probably make them lose votes. So what happens is they play this game. They say, oh, we're winning. We're going to cut spending here. So it looks good to conservative voters. But when we actually dive deeper, we realize, holy moly, they're still spending loads of money. Liberals do it too. They say, well, we're winning here. We're going to spend more money here. All the while they're cutting it somewhere else. Obama was one of the biggest deporters ever. But no one talks about that because of all the quote-unquote liberal things he did. So you see, they play between the 40s to ultimately take advantage of you, the taxpayer, of me, the taxpayer. So let's jump into a little of this spending bill just to show you exactly what they're trying to do. Now, I will say this. The House Freedom Caucus is pushing against this. So there are a few conservatives that saying, wait a minute. We are trying to get away from pork. Do you know this omnibus bill? It has more pork in it than what Nancy Pelosi was allowing in her pork bill. So are we really having true conservatives in our Congress? No. And I give kudos to Thomas Massie. He's bringing a lot of this to the forefront. This is dangerous for anyone from a farmer to a regular taxpayer. So let's go through it. The swamp omnibus, that's what most of the House Freedom Caucus is talking about. There's an article in Zero Hedge that says lobbyists get millions for LGBT parties, if you know what I mean, and electronic cattle tracking. As a partial government shutdown looms, the House Freedom Caucus has brought up to the Republicans to oppose this omnibus bill, criticizing what it has and the amount of pork that it portrays. Let's go through this mini omnibus bill and really talk about what it really has. It says the House Freedom Caucus opposes $1.65 trillion of this spending, which is 2/2 of the first that has been brought to the floor just this week. The group continues saying, we have a $34.4 trillion worth of national debt, and we are now wanting to spend billions more of taxpayers funded money to go for pork that should not ever happen. But remember, pork buys votes. So this is where conservatives, I hate saying that. This is where Republicans and Democrats stand on the same line. They want money because they want to keep filling their pockets and keep having the voters. It says, today the House Freedom Caucus released the following position. It says they are fully against this whole bill. Now here's what I want you to listen to. Lobbyists in this bill will get $15 million to electronically track all the cattle in the U.S. So, you know, you talked about, people dogged me out for saying they're trying to ban your cattle. They're trying to get you away from beef. This is how they do it. If they track your registry of your cattle, then they'll know everything about you. That's why I'm pushing against registered cattle. I don't like when we're registering these herds, because what that does, it just tells the government, hey, here's my cattle, this is how many I have, this is how much you should know about me. It's ridiculous that we're wanting to do that, and we've been completely inundated with dumb folks doing dumb things like this. So Thomas Massey brings this up. This is not even legal, but they're wanting to spend $15 million of your tax dollars to electronically track your cattle. You don't believe it's going to happen with your food. You don't believe it's going to happen with all your animals. You don't believe it's going to happen with all the livestock. It's just a way of control. Listen to this. There is a $1 million earmark in the omnibus bill for LGBTQ places, a center that has parties. These parties are not good parties. And I try to keep this at a very G or PG rated situation here. But look at what they're trying to earmark for and what these parties actually consist of. $1 million to give to this center to host parties that are not good at all. The thing is, too, most of the Senate, most of the Republicans in the Senate, and most of the Republicans in the House, not the conservative ones, but the ones that consider themselves Republicans, the establishment, are all in agreement of this. So when they tell you, well, they're not supporting this, they don't support this, they're actually supporting all of this. Because guess what? It fattens their pockets too. Everybody gets earmarked. So that's what happens. What it is they say, well, we're going to fight the taxation. We're going to fight the spending. And then all of a sudden they get $1 million earmarked to some project that's going to get them votes. And so then they become sellouts. That's what happens. I think people go to Washington probably with a good heart, some of them. But what happens is they get so inundated with the money. They get so inundated with the bad stuff, the immoral stuff that happens in Washington. And then they get so intoxicated with the power that they're willing to sell out. And that's exactly what happens. That's why I love people like Massey. Not that he's perfect, but this guy is saying, look at what's happening here. The House Freedom Caucus is saying, look at what they're wanting to pass. And I blame this on Republicans and Democrats. Remember, Trump had the Senate and the Congress. We got actually nothing done. We still spent tons of money that we didn't have. It's all for votes. They're buying your votes. We should ban all pork projects. We should ban all lobbying firms. We should have term limits. I promise you, if you had those three things, your Senate Congress approval ratings would go skyrocketed high. Because even though they might not make it long, even though they'd get probably kicked out of office, they would be doing America a favor. Now, they wouldn't be fattening their pockets and becoming mega millionaires, but they shouldn't have been in the first place. But that's what happens when they go to Washington. They sell out, and then all of a sudden you have your people like Dan Crenshaw, who wants to fight for the system and ultimately becomes part of the establishment. McConnell, establishment. Cornyn, establishment. Thune, establishment. Mississippi, Wicker, establishment. They get bought out because they realize, wow, I love the money, I love the power, and I'm willing to give money to a party place, a very, very immoral party place in Pennsylvania, just so I can get a bridge built to make sure my constituents are happy. So therefore, we're all happy, and I still get to stay in Washington because I spent a ton of money in my own state that probably shouldn't have been done. Shouldn't have been done. We needed a new museum so I can get 20 more votes. It cost me $2 billion, but oh well. And then now we're sitting with every 100 days. Did you see this report? Every 100 days, we're spending about $1 trillion. Every 100 days, 3 months, we're spending $1 trillion. Your kids and grandkids will have to pay for that. Or they will go into a deep depression and destroy our dollar. All because these senators and these congressmen had to have money, had to have power, and had to have pork projects for the lobbying firms. To track your cattle, track your food, to send to very immoral parties in Pennsylvania. Here's a few more things of this 1,000-page pork project. $1.1 million for electric bus charging, because we need that in Florida. $1 million to citywide climate assessment in Rhode Island. $1 million to expand the LGBT community in Philadelphia, $1.6 million for artistic living and working space in New York. That makes complete sense. We know exactly what that $1.6 million is going to. $1 million to EV infrastructure master plan. Again, we're spending money that we shouldn't be spending to build more on a grid that we should not be really hurting, all in the name of electric vehicles. For more, well, that's more control for you, isn't it? And this is my favorite, $850,000 for bus stop equity. What is bus stop equity? Do you see how they name this? You have no flipping idea what this stuff is, but all your billions and millions are being spent while you're struggling to buy rice and bread at Walmart. They're spending billions of your dollars for what? Electric bus charging station? Artistic living and working space? A way to track cattle? Senator Mike Lee said, Americans have had enough of earmarks. It's enough of inflation, enough with illegal immigration. We have too many problems to be spending more money. You know, if Mike Johnson had some cojones, basically what he would do is say, we're not doing any signing. We're shutting our government down until we cut our budgets by 10%. I want to see our budgets cut by 10%. Every budget. Don't give me this crap about FBI is going to be cut, DOJ is going to be cut. So we're going to take this 6% and then we're going to spend 20% over here. No. I'm saying cut across the board. If we'd see what Argentina's doing and El Salvador, it's sad that countries like Argentina and El Salvador seem to have their junk together while America is literally burning to pieces. But if we'd see what Milei is doing over there, not that he's some saint, but he is cutting his budgets to where now they're profitable. Argentina is actually making money again. Isn't that funny? America is literally going in the hole, $1 trillion every 100 days, but Argentina is making money again because he learned to cut the budget and said, you know what, enough is enough. An idea. This has nothing to do with the spending bill, but I just want to mention one more thing to you. Go look up Operation March Sadness. It was in Florida. They busted a lot of government situations where they were flying individuals like we talked about, but they were flying illegal immigrants into doing adult work, basically very illegal adult work in metropolitan cities, and basically doing it for free. And they were quote unquote trying to catch the bad guy, all the while flying illegal immigrants to basically be slaves into these situations. Now I just want you to look it up. Now they busted it and stopped it, but that's the kind of stuff your government's doing. All the while they tell you they want to be morally and value oriented, and you know, we want to help people. It's kind of like fighting both sides of a war. We give weapons to Israel, but then give humanitarian aid to Gaza. we send our defense contractors send and spend money to go to Russia and buy fuel from Russia. However, we're supporting Ukraine. It's all playing between the 40s, because if they can play on your heartstrings and they can think and they can make you believe that they're helping the system either on the left or right, ultimately what they're doing is playing between the 40s, and they're taking advantage of your tax dollars, taking advantage of you to get more votes, more power, and ultimately you have maybe a handful of people actually standing up for you in Washington, D.C. The Swamp Omnibus Bill. You know what you could do? You can call your Senate and Congressman and bother the stew out of them and tell them you are a flippin' joke and you need to be voted out of office. Now, you'll probably be put on some little list. But this is how serious it is, and I'm being serious now. We are literally in a falling nation, and we are faltering even more, and they're spending your kids, grandkids, and great-grandkids' money, or they're going to either bankrupt our country to where you're going to be impoverished like the Depression. I mean, that's really the only answers, other than sending us to war and causing some major spending on war efforts. And is that any better? So in this omnibus bill, this avert spending, the Republicans are going to spend it like they're getting a win. They're saving money. They're not giving money to the IRS or DOJ. All the while we're paying for adult parties in Pennsylvania. We're tracking your cattle because that's what conservative farmers want. They want their cattle tracked. It's unbelievable. If we want to see changes, and we really want to see a massive revival and a revitalization of America, we have to get these congressmen and these Senate out of there. We have to get these career politicians out of there. We have to get these NGOs out of there. We actually need to quote unquote drain the swamp. It doesn't need to be just a little bit. I love, it's kind of like my kids. They'll get in a bath and it's like, oh, the water's high, so they'll let a little water out. They still are in the bath water. And so say for instance, they've been playing out in the mud and they're like, we need to take a bath. They're gonna go in there and sit in that water, and that water's gonna get filthy. Now they can let a little water out and add a little bit more water, but ultimately the water is still filthy that they're trying to bathe in. So we have to tell them, no babe, y'all have to drain the water and run a new bath water. You have to change the water, or you're just gonna be bathing in filth, so it doesn't change anything. That's kind of what Washington does. They let a little water out, but all the while they're letting a little bit more water in, and they're just filling the swamp back up because no one's actually doing anything to actually get rid of the filth, the immoral living in the swamp. And that, my friends, is the truth. Let me know what you think. Am I wrong? Am I right? It's just a morning rant today, and you know what? Sometimes you just need to rant. It makes you feel better. It makes me feel better. That way when I go fishing this afternoon, after I do all my chores and work, I can enjoy the sunset while fishing with my kids. And that's what I keep going back to and saying, you know what, no matter how bad it is, I'm gonna do all I can to make sure that I'm building a better America for my children. Let me know your thoughts. God bless. Happy homesteading, y'all.